It all started on a quiet Saturday morning in our gated community, the sun just beginning to cast golden streaks across the perfectly manicured lawns. I had just returned from a weekend trip, parking my car in my own driveway, when the unmistakable voice of HOA Karen pierced the calm. "Excuse me, you can't park there. That's not allowed," she yelled from the edge of the street, her face twisted in a mixture of anger and self-importance. I stepped out of my car, waving politely. "Good morning, Karen. This is my property. I believe I can park here," I said calmly, trying to diffuse her usual storm of indignation. But calm was never part of Karen's vocabulary. She whipped out her phone, fingers tapping furiously. "I'm calling 911. There's a car illegally parked in the neighborhood. I demand immediate action." By the time she finished dialing, I was shaking my head in disbelief. This wasn't the first time she tried to overstep boundaries, but calling the authorities over someone parking in their own driveway was new. Within minutes, the neighborhood was alive with the low hum of sirens. I could hear Karen pacing back and forth, muttering about authority, rules, and how the HOA ran this community. Meanwhile, I just stood by my car, quietly observing. The sheriff's vehicle pulled up, lights flashing but no one in immediate danger, just Karen's latest fantasy of enforcement. The deputy stepped out, walking toward us with professional calm. And then the world tilted slightly. "Morning, Dad," the deputy said, removing his hat with a grin. Karen froze. Her eyes widened in horror. She looked from my calm, unassuming face to the young man in uniform standing in front of her. This can't be," she stammered. You're my son," I said simply, smiling. "Yes, Karen. The sheriff handling this violation is my son." The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Her hands trembled as she dropped the phone, unable to comprehend that the situation had just turned completely upside down. The very person she thought would enforce her imagined rules was family, and someone who knew exactly how to deal with petty HOA power trips. My son, ever the professional, didn't gloat. He simply approached Karen calmly, placing a hand on her shoulder, not roughly, but with enough authority to make her realize the gravity of her actions. "Ma'am," he said politely, "there's no violation here. The car is parked legally, on private property, and this matter is resolved. I recommend you refrain from calling 911 for personal disputes in the future." Karen's face was a mix of fury, humiliation, and disbelief. She opened her mouth, tried to argue, but all words failed her. There were no HOA rules that could override family ties, law enforcement, and common sense. Not one to leave without a spectacle, Karen stomped back toward her house, muttering under her breath about favoritism and unfair treatment. But the sound of her words was drowned out by the quiet chuckle of my son and me as we watched her retreat. After the ordeal, I leaned against my car, shaking my head with a mix of amusement and relief. "Well, that's one way to teach her a lesson," I said, grinning. "My favorite part?" my son replied. "She called 911 thinking she had authority, and instead, she walked straight into a family reunion." From that day forward, Karen never tried to enforce her imagined HOA rules against me again. The mere presence of my son in uniform, and the knowledge that I had an entire legal safety net at home, kept her at bay. It became a story retold among neighbors with laughter. The day HOA Karen got a reality check, thanks to her own lack of foresight. Parking my car in my own driveway had never felt so victorious.